I jump off the side of this cliff and I am screaming. I'm screaming for my life. It's like I'm just falling in slow motion all the way down. My feet hit the water. I get completely submerged. And then I come up. I kick my feet as I come up. Everybody's cheering. My God, I can't believe that I've done it. And in that moment, I know that I am a 7-figure entrepreneur. I know that I have made my first 7 figures. I felt it in my body. I was no longer hoping. I was no longer wishing. If somebody asked me, I would have said, making 7 figures next year. I just knew it. I knew if I could do that, I could do anything.
Welcome to the Spirit and Soul Podcast. Your life is about to get a soul-based makeover. Discover what it is to live intentionally, manifest your best life, and release what holds you back with your host, Tiffany Cohen from Spirit and Soul Studio. In this podcast, we're talking all about manifesting, magic, crystals, and more. You'll get to hear conversations with some of the most magical people in the world and begin to live your life from your spirit and soul. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Spirit and Soul Podcast. Today, you are in for a treat. We have such a special guest with us today, and I'm so excited to introduce Suzy Ashworth to the podcast. Suzy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for stocking the book. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, so we love infinite receiving at Spirit and Soul. And I was just like, I have to reach out and hear you in person and hear you and all of your magical teachings. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and all of the magical things you do?
Yeah, so I am, first and foremost, a single mum of 3 very rambunctious, amazing forces of nature. I've got a 15-year-old boy called Caesar, a 13-year-old girl called Coco, and a 10-year-old now called Aluna. Who I am as an individual first, and then I suppose a mother second, but is completely driven by who I want to be in my relationship with these 3 human beings. And it's so interesting to me that when they were first born, I was very much like, I need to remember who I am and I need to not lose myself. And the older that they get, the more I am reminded by the book and everything that my journey, just the more I can honor the journey that I've written about in the book, the more my relationships with these 3 individuals amplify and just sort of things that I'm proud of. So it's a very big change for me because I think that I've always led with what I do and how many people that I've helped and, me as a coach, and all of those things are really important. They're an important part of my identity. But in this phase of my life, I find that the way that I think about things and my priorities feel like they're shifting, like very much in flux. So I'm a mum, I'm a coach. I have created over 8 figures in revenue over the last 13 years of working with people all around the globe. And I suppose my legacy is helping people step into their potential, helping them create and achieve and receive more than what sometimes their minds can ever imagine.
So good. And honestly, Suzy, you're like bringing tears to my eyes because I think we are in the same place. Like you're really telling my story too with the kids, and how in the beginning it was like you don't want to lose your individuality, but then they start getting older and you realize like, time is so short and it's passing by, and you are so defined by these humans that you brought into the world, and also you want to be defined by them as well, right? So I feel that so much. So thank you for sharing that. I'm like, I really have tears in my eyes right now. Because my son is, and I'm like seeing it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it, right?
Very interesting time because they are developing into young adults and they're trying to find their own path. And it's like, where does your path sit alongside their path? And this idea that you've got these kids that are your kids, and it's like they were never yours. You were always a custodian. And there's this push and pull and tension that is just so alive. And sometimes it's beautiful, and other times it's heartbreaking. And it's like, who am I in relation to them? And it's very full. Obviously, it's very present for me right now.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your teachings and how you really have built this incredible business, I mean, 8 figures, and how you really help people all over the world?
Yeah. So infinite receiving is really, I suppose, my journey to wealth. And when I say wealth, I'm talking, when you actually read the book, it's really a journey of self-discovery and self-love, and how it is possible to extract gifts from each and every moment. And the more we're able to really connect with the greatness in ourselves, and I think see it and sometimes activate it in others, the more the world opens up. And I think that for a very long time in my life, I was driven by a lack of self-worth, because, and this was very unconscious, I think, a lot of it. I think on the surface of it, if you'd have said a happy child, that I would have said yes. And I was very fortunate. I was fostered from the age of 3 months old, and I was placed with foster parents who were absolutely incredible. And so my natural disposition and also safety mechanism was to be of a mindset like, I'm really lucky. I've been blessed with 2 sets of parents. And that was very, very helpful for me as a young person, to be able to be optimistic and grateful and appreciative of life. That was very, very helpful. But underneath that were many stories that I hadn't quite addressed around being fostered from the age of 3 months, around not having a relationship with my biological father, a very strained one with my biological mother. And those things really meant that for a large part of my life, even though the surface was like, yay, and I'm happy and I'm popular and I've got friends, underneath the story was, I don't think I'm that lovable. I don't think that I'm really worthy. I don't think that I am deserving. And, when I look back now, I can look back at myself with way more grace and way more compassion than I had for myself 25, 30 years ago. But at 19, I was very much a teenager. I was very self-orientated, very wrapped up in what was going on in my world. And for most teenagers, that's fine. Unfortunately for me, my foster mother had developed cancer and was dying. And so when I could have or should have been there with her and for her, I wasn't. I was getting stoned and I was drinking and I was out with my friends, and I was numbing the pain of this catastrophic loss that I was kind of aware. I was in denial about the fact that it was coming. But when it came, it was devastating because I had no more time. I didn't have the option to have that one more conversation. What at the time was, like I say, catastrophic, ended up ultimately being my biggest gift, because to have the rug pulled out from underneath you at that young an age, where you're given the opportunity to take stock at life. You are presented with your own mortality. And at that point in time, I had to look at myself and say, is this who you want to be? And the answer was no. So that's really where the journey of personal development, self-development, self-improvement started, and where the seeds of infinite receiving were sown.
Suzy, what a story, because I think that it's like we all have this rock bottom moment. And I think that it's what you do with it, right? Like you, that rock bottom moment for you in this hardest time of your life as an opportunity to say, like, wait a second, what am I doing here? And how can I shift this life? Because I know I'm not living into who I'm supposed to be. And you can really propel forward and look at what you've been able to do in the world and in your own life from that moment. Like it's amazing when you look at these moments that really hit us, right? Hit us hard and knock us down. And it's like, what do we do when we're knocked down?
Mm.
And it's just amazing that you built this entire, this through the personal development, built all of this. So talk about that journey of getting to where you are now.
Yeah, well, it was a long one, probably for the first 15 years after my mother passed, it was all about me. So I worked in a regular job, I worked in media, I sold advertising space. I was just trying to find out who I was in relation to everybody around me. And I wasn't quite sure. I was surrounded by people who were very loud and amazing storytellers and, the life and soul of the party. And I was much better with people one on one. I am an extrovert by nature and I love being around people. However, I don't need to be the center of attention as much as it might not look like that on my Instagram. So it wasn't until I got pregnant with Caesar, really that's when things shifted. The moment that I got pregnant with him, I was aware that I would want to be able to say to him one day, you can do anything that you want to do in this world. And I knew that he wouldn't believe me if I stayed working at The Guardian, which was the company that I worked for then. And so the seeds were sown. It was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to need to step out of here. I'm going to need to change my life. But I didn't really change things until I got pregnant again. Quite soon after, like within 2 years, there's 23 months between them with my daughter Coco. And when I went on maternity leave with her, I just said to myself, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So what are you going to do? And I think often we feel trapped by our circumstance because it is like the idea of what you can, there are so many things that you could do. And depending on your level of self-esteem and self-confidence, there will be stories around, God, there's so much to do. I don't know what to pick, or there's no way that I could do it. And I didn't know what I wanted, but I did know what I didn't want. And I didn't want to stay at The Guardian. I didn't want to continue selling advertising space. So I knew that I needed to retrain. So I retrained as a hypnotherapist and psychotherapist. And I picked that because I needed something practical, because at that point in time, I still told myself the story that I wasn't very smart. I thought I was street smart, but not book smart. So I needed something that was very practical. And that was a very practical diploma. And I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I just thought this is a way out. And I think for a lot of people, if you can't quite visualize what it is that you want to do, a great place to start is with what you don't want and to start kind of knocking those skittles down until you're presented with an opportunity that you hadn't thought about before that feels quite exciting. So yeah, that's where I started. I thought I was going to do hypnotherapy I thought I was going to specialize in anxiety and depression. And I tried that, wasn't very good. And so I decided that I would specialize in hypnobirthing because I'd had Caesar at home in the water and I'd had Coco at home in the water and I was really passionate about it. So that is really where I started teaching other families how to have calm and positive birth experiences. And I loved it. That was actually my first book, The Calm Birth Method, I wrote with Hay House. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh, I love that. And it's funny that you say about like you have to figure out what you don't want first, right? I feel like that's good for anything. I do that all the time. Even it sounds so silly, but like because I do apply it to everything.
Yeah.
Where it's like what do you want for dinner? And it's like, well, I'll tell you what I don't want. right?
Yeah,
Like, I don't want XYZ. And I apply that to everything. It's like, what do I want? Well, let me say, actually, this is what I don't want. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to do this. And I really do. So I love that you said that. But the hypnobirthing is amazing. I'm a hypnotherapist as well. And I think that there's so much beauty to really like getting into that subconscious mind and starting to tell a different story. So do you use a lot of those teachings in what you do now?
absolutely. What I realized quite early on, because I went from hypnobirthing to then teaching pre and postnatal specialists how to make their first £1,000 online, because I realized there was a little bit of a difference between my peers and myself. They were all obsessed with babies and birth and vagina and just everything to do with motherhood. And I was really passionate about branding and marketing and business. And I thought, this is interesting. But what I realized is that it was the same process. It was asking people what it is that they want and then identifying the stories and the fears that got in the way of them creating it, eliminating those stories and fears or helping people work with them and then providing them with a pathway to create what it is that they desire. So it was the same process I was teaching people in birth as it was in business. Because one of the things that was really important to me when I was hypnobirthing is really communicating to people that you might not get exactly what it is that you want, but you can have a good experience on the way, even if you don't have the water birth at home, etc., etc. And I feel like that's very similar with business. We can have a plan, but we don't know how it's all going to pan out.
Yeah, I feel like you can never know. And, the beauty is that it's the universe, it will always have your back and the universe knows best, right? And it's knowing that if you could just surrender, right? And would you say that's like a secret sauce in all of this is like surrendering to the path, to that river, that it's going to guide you and take you exactly where you need to be. And it may not be exactly how you want it, but it'll probably feel exactly how you want.
Surrender is such an interesting word because for people like me, and I would say that I'm definitely type A-ish. I was always type A, but now there's many
Yeah.
little B creeping in. But like very focused, determined, I know what I want. So the idea in the past of surrendering to anything was very, very challenging for me. My catchphrase, the thing that people know me for, is faith plus action equals miracles. And it's that combination that is so important to me. And what is also true, and I learned this when I was giving birth to all three of the kids, is that if I tried to force it, if I tried to push it, if I tried to go really hard, I'd slow everything down. I would be in more pain. And so surrender wasn't a passive thing. It wasn't like I give up, I wave my white flag and just roll all over me. It was a very intentional releasing, letting go. And I think that there's this tension in business. Part of it is being willing to take the path of least resistance, you know? And sometimes that can be really challenging when you have a specific idea about how things should be. It's like, no, I want to go this way. I want to go this way. And actually, you need to go this way. And then what you said is really accurate. It's like, this is the end result, but who I'm becoming on the way means that the pathway may be completely different. It's never linear. I can tell you that about business. It is never linear. It's up and it's down and it's around and it's around. It's like every single fear that you have had, every single doubt, every single area of shadow that you have is brought to the forefront when you are in business. It's like you against you. And can I surrender the idea of what I am supposed to be and allow myself to be the human being that I am? And that's a really big part of infinite receiving. Can I recognize that this thumbprint is unique? It will never be created and has never been created. That in and of itself makes me a walking, talking miracle that is absolutely priceless. And when I can own that and the voice that comes with that unique thumbprint, nobody can touch me. And that, can I surrender to that versus, oh, but Jenny from the block is doing it like this, and that person says I'm supposed to be doing it like that, and I need to look like this, but I'm not wearing a suit, and all of the stories.
Suzy, you're giving me chills after chills after chills. We have this social media where it's showing us what we should be, how we should be, and we're trying all the things because we want the success. And on some end, you see it, right? Like you're seeing the vision of it. And it's the how and the in between that like really can drive people to a place where they're not fully themselves and not listening to themselves. Like you lose yourself in that. And I love how you said like business will bring out all of your shadows because your business is an extension of you, right? So it's like what you haven't worked through inside.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see it. You will see every block of what that equates to in the business, the money block, the client blocks, the visibilities, all the different things. You will see it come up because you don't feel like you're worthy of being seen. You don't
Mm-hmm.
feel worthy of having X amount of dollars, right? And it shows up over and over again. And if you don't work through, if you're just trying to throw strategy at it because you saw it on Instagram, you're never gonna.
The thing is, that's where the mind wants to go to. The mind wants to go to how. And again, I write about this in the book. And we have to, transformation, change, creation is an inside job. We have to start with who. Who is it that I am being? The identity of the individual who has this already, who's created this already. Who is she? Who is he? And when you know the answer to who, the how will present itself. But we always want to do it the other way around. And it's why you can have two individuals who have the same strategy. One of them absolutely nails it, and another one, it never gets off the start line. Why is that? Identity is who is the energy behind how you are implementing everything, how you think about things. That's why.
So good. So how do you, because I'm sure you see this all the time, how do you coach somebody from that place and get them into a let go of the how and start becoming?
So some of it is teaching beforehand. So before a client becomes a client, they will immerse themselves in the teaching. They listen to podcasts. There's an understanding that we work differently in the space. And then it's about coaching. So when somebody says, how do I need to do this? I suppose when somebody comes into my world, the first thing that you're going to look at is, what is it that you actually want? Like what is the goal? What's the aim? And then why do you want it? Why is it important to you? And even that question, when your identity isn't lined up, when you haven't decided that you're worthy, even people who come and want to coach sometimes feel afraid of saying what it is that they actually want because they are afraid that they're not going to get it. They're afraid of how disappointed they are going to feel if they fail in their endeavor. So even though the question isn't who is it that you want to be, there is a shift in identity that is happening as soon as somebody starts to say, this is what it is that I desire. And this is why I want it. And this is why it's important to me. And as soon as somebody starts to speak to that, where my mind goes is I'm looking for all of the places where their actions are out of alignment with their words.
Absolutely. Yeah, where they're like sabotaging it.
Mm-hmm.
Belief that somewhere along the way that they don't really deserve it or that they can't have it, whatever it might be, whatever the stories are that they're telling themselves. Yeah.
Because if they were already acting in alignment with it, they would already have it, or they would already be certain that it was on its way, you know?
Yeah, you'd have that trust, you'd know, you could feel it. So you feel it. Like for me, I don't know about you, Susie, but for me, like when I know that something is so in alignment with me, something that I've been working on, I can feel the energy, like almost like I can reach out and grab it. I'm like, okay, it's right here. I can feel it. And 9 times out of 10, it's right there.
You're not waiting for it anymore. Like and it's just such a fine line. I tell the story, this is in the book. I tell the story of when I made my first 7 figures in 2020, and I was at a retreat in Colombia. And at that point in time, my revenue for the business was 420,000 for the year, which was slightly lower than the year before. And up until that point, I'd kind of been doubling my revenue year on year, and I'd kind of got to this plateau, and I was very irritated by that. I'd gone to this retreat, and there were many different entrepreneurs that were 7, 8 figures. There was the founder of Mind Movies there, which happened to be the first program that I'd ever bought. It's like a digital vision board kind of technology. And it was so interesting to me. They'd all made their money in different ways. And there was this light bulb that went off for me. It was like, wow, these individuals have all made 7, multiple 7, some of them 8 figures, and they've all done it differently. That means there is no one way. I've been spending all of this time looking for this silver bullet of like, this is the thing, this is the missing thing. And it was like, oh, there isn't a missing thing. You can do it in many different ways. You're going to need to find the way that you want to do it. I'm like, and then my mind did something really unique. And this is why I love retreats. I think that when you put yourself in a different scenario with different people, you don't even need to think about the rewiring. It's already happening because you're in a different environment. My mind did something different, and my mind, instead of like isolating me and making me feel like less than. Often we have this thought, I don't belong, and everybody's this and everybody's that. My mind started going, oh, goodness, how similar are you to all of these people? It's like, I was married at the time. Oh, they're married. They're in a relationship. Oh, you're in a relationship. Oh, they've got a dog. You've got a dog. They've got kids. You've got kids. They've got goals. You've got goals. It was like it would take the smallest of things, and I would be like, I'm the same as that. I'm the same as that. I'm the same as that. Often we do the complete opposite. But in that environment, I was looking for and finding similarities everywhere. And every time I found a similarity, it was like one of the barriers were down. If I'd have been in like a prison or a cage, I was just removing bar by bar by bar. So the vibe was really like, it's like there was something in the air, and I was enjoying it. And we went into the jungle, and we were whitewater rafting. Now, that is not my type of activity. It's just not a vibe for me. But because I'm the same as all of these people, I am taking part, and I'm going to enjoy it. And I went off when they said, you've got to jump into the rapids. I jumped in, and I had the water in my mouth, and I was like, no, yeah, this is great. Absolutely hating it. And we get to the end of this river, and I see everybody has stopped. And everybody is gathered around, intuition on point. And I'm like, I'm not jumping off that cliff. They were all sizing up this cliff. And I'm like, I am not doing it. And I was with Glenn Ledwell, and he was the leader of our team. And he just looked at me and was like, we are the A team. You are getting up there. You are not letting us down. You are jumping off that cliff. And I was just like, sometimes you need that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you need a firm voice. I like to think of it as somebody who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. And I listened to him, and I decided to myself, I was like, you can go up, and if you don't want to jump off, you can climb back down. And now there's only one way down off that cliff. Yeah. That's what I needed to get out of the raft. And so I climb up and everybody's down. They're counting me down. 10, 9, 8. And I'm like a cartoon character, and I'm gathering up all of my puff, and I'm like running. I start running to the edge of this cliff. And as I get to the edge, I'm like, I just stop. I'm like, everyone's like, what are you doing? I'm like, what? Everybody starts counting again. I back up. And they're like 10, 9, and I just start running. And I jump off the side of this cliff, and I am screaming. I'm screaming for my life. It's like I'm just falling in slow motion all the way down. My feet hit the water. I get completely submerged. And then I come up. I kick my feet as I come up. Everybody's cheering. I can't believe that I've done it. And in that moment, I know that I am a 7-figure entrepreneur. I know that I have made my first 7 figures. I felt it in my body. I was no longer hoping. I was no longer wishing. If somebody asked me, I would have said, making 7 figures next year. I just knew it. I knew if I could do that, I could do anything. Of course I could. Of course I could make 7 figures. And so that year, I then tripled my income from 420,000 to 1.2 million.
Wow.
And my identity shifted, and then I acted in alignment with it.
Wow. So chills upon chills. That story is amazing. And like the fact that you like ran, right? You ran and then stop, because there is that moment in life, whether it's in life or in business, where you want to take the plunge. You want to take that leap. Everything inside you says, stop. This is scary. Like that's your nervous system. That's like doing what it's supposed to do. That you have to push past that. Wow.
It happens at every single level. I want to write a book. The next thought that comes into your mind, you can't write the book. I want to do a 21-day juice cleanse. The next thought that comes into your mind, you're not going to be able to do a 21-day juice cleanse. It doesn't matter how big or small the intention is, your nervous system immediately fires up and says, uncertain, don't do it, stay safe, and will come up with the most reasonable, logical answers for you to not do the thing. And it's so normal, and it stops so many people creating so much magic.
I was going to ask you about so now after you jump into the water, you really take the plunge in the business, right? Like jump off that, you jump into really, it's almost like this next level timeline of yourself.
Yeah.
What then happens in that year? And then what happens after that? And how do you start forming infinite receiving, all of it?
So in that took a year and a half. So this was kind of midway through 2019. And then at the end of 2020, I hit 1.2. I hired 4 different mentors and coaches. And so this is the identity piece. Here, I hired a mindset coach, had 2 business masterminds, and there was one other one-to-one coach who taught me how to sell from the stage, who I met whilst I was in Colombia. And just the way that my mind worked was, I've got this gap, this gap, this gap, this gap. I can't do everything that I was doing before because I will get the same results. So I want to learn. I want community. I know that I'm going to need to work on my mindset. I know that I don't want to sell loads more of the thing that I'm already doing. So I need a high ticket offer, and then I need a way to sell it. So these are the 4 gaps in my kind of business arsenal. It's like, well, okay, so I'm just going to hire the people that I need to hire to teach me how to do those things. I wouldn't have done that before I jumped off the cliff, because it would have seemed responsible. I would have been like, I can't afford it. I don't have the means. The truth is that I couldn't afford it, and I didn't have the means. However, I did have a business, and every single time I invested using, a credit card, a payment plan, however it was, in one of these coaches, because I did it all within a couple of months of leaving Colombia, my business up leveled every single time I made the investment. It was like, okay, I'm going to need to pay $2,500 a month here. Right. I need to now make more than that in order to make sure that I can. And every single time I did, again, that was the identity of Seven Figure Suzy. I relaunched, and I put the work in. That's really what happened there. And it was during that year that Infinite Receiving was born. I spoke at one of my friends' events whilst I was in England because I was living in Mexico at the time in my family. I went to a mastermind with Kyle Gray, who is the Angel Man, and Rebecca Campbell, who's written Light is the New Black and many other incredible books. It's basically a Hay House peer mastermind. And I had this contact because I'd self-published a Calm Birth School book, and then Hay House had taken it and published it as well. So I had this in. They'd invited me to mastermind with them, and I was like, okay. And Infinite Receiving. So actually, how Infinite Receiving was first born was a friend of mine had created a program and a course called Infinite Receiving. She fell in love, and she no longer lived her own teachings, but recognized that she had this beautiful name, which had a beautiful frequency, and she'd offered it to me. And my first response was no. And then I slept on it. And this is not me at all. I'm like an instant. Every time I said Infinite Receiving, my whole body was activated. And I knew the way that Infinite Receiving came to her. She said it was out of the blue. It was like literally like a gift from God. And I knew that I was supposed to be the next custodian of it. And so I basically bought the intellectual property, and then I just sat with it. I just sat with what is Infinite Receiving to me. And I went on retreat again. It's again why I love retreats. Magic things always happen in retreats. I was in Costa Rica, and we had done medicine, and we were just in really beautiful surroundings. It was a very small group. And I just remember sitting on my balcony and just being in reflection. And again, the downloads, the 4 pillars, that's what came to me. It was knowing your greatness, knowing yourself to be held and supported. It was leaning into love. What does it really mean to have an open heart? What does it mean how much has your life changed, Suzy, since you stopped being kind-hearted and started moving through life with an open heart? And then it was the magic. It's the co-creation. It was the co-creation with the universe. And it was like, these are the 4 pillars. These are your life lessons. This is what has been happening since day dot. And it was like, it was so clear to me. And so I left Costa Rica with not really knowing that it was a book, but knowing what Infinite Receiving was to me. I then ended up going on this mastermind with the Hay House guys. And I told Kyle, yeah, I've had this idea and these 4 pillars. And he then went and told the CEO of Hay House. And she messaged me and said, I've been chatting to Kyle. He said that you've got an amazing idea. Do you want to come and have a chat about it? And I was like, oh my goodness, it's like lightning never strikes twice in the same place. But my first book, they approached me. And then my second book, they're approaching me again. And it was like, this really is what miracles are made of. And so we had the chat, and yeah, that's how it was born.
Amazing. I love your story so much, Suzy, and just like how you present it, like you're just like this beacon of light and love. And I just want to reflect that to you because there is this way that you just talk about it that almost gives the person who's receiving the knowing that it is possible. And I think that that to me and sitting here with you right now and having this conversation, that's how I'm receiving it. And so I want to thank you for that gift today. And I know that everybody on the other end of this podcast is receiving it in the way I am as well. It really is such a gift. And I feel so blessed to be here with you today. If you could tell everybody how they can follow you, how they can get more of you in their life, because I know I need more of you in my life now. How can everybody follow along?
Thank you. I am most active on Instagram, Suzy, SUZY_Ashworth. I've got the Infinite Receiving podcast, which has been on a little mini break, but I will absolutely be back with a fresh episode really, really soon. And obviously, we've got the Infinite Receiving book. So go to Spirit and Soul, pick up your copy.
Is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with? Anything that you want to let them know as we sign off today?
So what I want to say is faith plus action equals miracles really has changed my entire existence. It is something that has been programmed into my DNA and continues to be programmed into my cells on a daily basis, multiple times a day. And I really just want to gift it to you. All it means is that I choose to believe in myself. I choose to believe in the universe. And when I believe and I am willing to take action in alignment with that belief, I can be blessed with so much magic, so many miracles. And that is fact. It's the way that it works. So I really want to give you that gift and invite you to lean into it. See how much you can lean into it in your own life and start noticing how much you are gifted on a daily basis.
Suzy, thank you so much. Thank you. And I appreciate you being here and sharing this amazing information and light and love with us. So thank you for being a guest. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
And everybody at home, let me know, because I know there were so many amazing nuggets of wisdom here, so much wisdom. Let us know what resonated with you the most. You can go on to Spirit and Soul Studio. Let us know. Also, let Suzy know what resonated with you the most. Make sure you're following. Make sure that you reach out to her. I'm sure she would love to hear from you. And thank you for joining us on this episode of the Spirit and Soul podcast.
Thank you.